The Satanic Mill by Otfried Preussler, the third year, 5. My name is Krabat. The snow melted, spring came, and Krabat was studying like a man possessed. He had long since outstripped his companions. The master praised him and showed that he was very pleased with his progress in the black art. He did not seem to guess that Krabat was studying and studying and studying so as to be prepared for the day of reckoning. On the 4th Sunday in Lent, Merton got up for the first time and went to sit in the sun behind the woodshed. He had grown pale and thin, almost transparent, and they could see that his neck was permanently crooked. However, he was speaking again now, just the barest necessities, yes and no, and give me that or leave it alone. On Good Friday, they admitted Lobosh to the black school, and the boy was much surprised when the master turned him into a raven. He flitted perkily about the room, brushing the skull and the book with the tips of his wings. The master had to give the command 3 times before the young imp would settle on the perch. He was a comical blackbird with bright eyes and ruffled feathers. "This is the way to speak to another in thought, so that he will hear and understand the words, as if they come from within himself." The miller's men found it hard to follow the master that evening. Lobosh kept distracting them. It was amusing to watch him roll his eyes, crane his neck, and flap his wings, and never mind what the miller was reading from the book of necromancy. But Krabat did not let a word escape him. He realized how important this new lesson was. Important for himself and the girl from Schwarzkolm. He impressed the spell upon his mind, syllable by syllable, and as he lay in bed before going to sleep, he repeated it again and again, until he was quite sure he would never forget it. On Easter Sunday at dusk, the master sent his men out again to bring back the sign. When he counted them out, Krabat and Lobosh were left till last, and the miller dismissed them with his dark blessing. Krabat had put blankets ready in the woodshed, 2 each, for the sky looked dark as evening came on, and there was a smell of rain in the air. Since they were the last to leave the mill, he urged Lobosh to hurry in case any of the others might already be on their way to Bommel's End. But when they reached the wooden cross, his fears proved groundless. They collected twigs and pieces of bark from the edge of the wood and kindled a small fire. Krabat told the boy why they were sitting out here and how they must spend the night keeping watch by the fire together. Shivering, Lobosh wrapped himself in his blankets. "A good thing I don't have to sit here on my own," he thought. "I'd probably die of fright. And then maybe they'd have put another wooden cross up here, a smaller one." Later they talked about the black school and the rules whereby they were instructed in the magic arts. Then they were silent for a time, and at last Krabat began to speak of Tonda and Michael. "I said I would tell you about them one day," he reminded Lobosh. And as he talked to Lobosh about his friends, he realized that he himself was now in Tonda's place, at least as far as the boy opposite him on the other side of the fire was concerned. At first, he did not intend to tell Lobosh anything about the deaths of Michael and Tonda, or at least no details, but the longer he talked of the 2 of them, and of Vorshula, who lay buried in Seedwinkle churchyard, and how Tonda said that the men who worked at the mill in the fen would always bring a girl bad luck, the longer he talked, the more he felt that the boy had a right to hear what he meant to spare him. So in the end, Krabat told him everything there was to be told, except that he did not mention the secret knife blade. He feared that might endanger its magic power. "Do you know who is guilty of Tonda and Michael's deaths?" asked Lobosh. "I have a very good idea," said Krabat, "and if I am proved right, then I'll get even with him." About midnight, a light rain began to fall. Lobosh pulled the blanket over his head. "Don't do that," said Krabat. "You won't be able to hear the bells and the singing in the village." Soon after that, they heard the pealing of Easter bells in the distance, and the voice of the singer from Schwarzkolm came over the fields, alternating with the voices of the other girls. "It sounds pretty," said Lobosh after a while. "It's worth getting wet to hear that." The girls sang, the bells rang out. Krabat did not even notice when the rain stopped. For him, at this moment, there was neither rain nor wind, warmth nor cold, light nor dark. There was nothing in the world but the singer, her voice, and the memory of the way her eyes shone in the light of the Easter candle. Krabat decided he would not go out of himself again this time. The master had taught them the way to speak to another in thought, so that he can hear and understand the words as if they came from within himself. As the morning approached, Krabat recited the new spell, directing all the power he could summon up toward the singer until he believed he could feel that he had reached her. Then he spoke to her. "There is someone here begging you to listen to him, singer," said he. "You don't know him, but he has known you a long time. When you draw the Easter water this morning, fall behind the other girls on the way home. You must walk alone, carrying your pitcher. That someone wishes to meet you in secret because this concerns only you and him and no one else in the world." He repeated this speech earnestly 3 times, always in the same words. Then day began to break, the singing and the bells fell silent. Now it was time for him to teach Lobash to draw the pentagram, and for them to mark the sign on each other with splinters from the cross. Krabat cut them from the upright with Tonda's knife and charred them in the embers. Krabat was in a great hurry on the way home, as if he were determined to be the first back to the mill. With his short legs, Lobash could hardly keep up. Just before they reached the fen among the first of the bushes, Krabat stopped. He searched his pockets and struck his forehead and cried, "I must have left it by the cross." "What?" asked Lobash. "My knife, the one Tonda gave you." "Yes, Tonda's knife." The boy knew that Tonda's knife was the only keepsake Krabat had of him. "We must turn around and go back for it," said he. "No, no," said Krabat, hoping that Lobash would not see through his ruse. "I'll run back alone. It'll be quicker, and you'd better sit down here and wait for me." "If you think so." The boy stifled a yawn. "Yes, I do." While Lobash sat down in the damp grass between the bushes, Krabat hurried back to the spot, which, as he knew, the girls would have to pass taking the Easter water home, and hid in the hedge there. It was not long before they came up the road in a long line with their pitchers. As they passed, Krabat saw that the singer was not among them, so she had heard and understood his request. When the other girls were all gone, he saw her coming by herself, wrapped tightly in her shawl. He came out of his hiding place and went to meet her. "My name is Krabat, and I am a journeyman miller. I work at the mill in the fen," he said. "Don't be afraid of me." The girl looked into his face calmly, as if she had been expecting him. "I know you," she said. "I have dreamed of you and of a man who means you harm. But we took no notice of him, you and I. I have been waiting to meet you ever since, and now you are here." "Yes, I am here," said Krabat, "but I can't stay long. They expect me back at the mill, and I must go home too," said the singer. "Will we meet again?" Then she dipped an end of her shawl in the pitcher of Easter water, and without a word, she wiped the pentagram off Krabat's forehead quite gently, taking her time, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. The young man felt as if she had wiped some taint from him, and he was filled with gratitude to her just for being alive and there with him, looking at him. And that is the end of chapter 5.